Shalom to the nation of Israel. First and foremost, before I get into my lesson, I want to start off by giving all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Makah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone that teach and that rule well today. And peace and salutation also to the fellow laborers that's in the ministry and the believers that scatter worldwide in all truth and sincerity, day in and day out. Once again, I'm the brother Shaquat Gabar coming at you with another quick lesson. And right before I get into this lesson, this message or these videos, as always, goes out to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which we are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites according to the Bible. And also to the Israelite foreigners that are scattered amongst the heathen nations and that may take on a physical appearance or look of another nation. But if your bloodline goes back to Negro, Latino, or Native American descent by the seed of your father, you are considered an Israelite as well. Once again, Shalom. So basically, this is going to be a quick lesson going into, recently, okay, now, when it comes to, the latest, okay, when it comes to former members of Sakari, okay, which go by the name of Genesis, okay, starting with their head, Deacon Akar, okay, Minister Akar, however, whatever he called himself now, okay, former member of Sakari, okay, and then, and also Hassad, a former member of Sakari, that they formed their own Israelite group, okay, called Genesis. And, throughout, a couple of months now, they don't switch up the doctrine, okay, saying that salvation in the kingdom is not only for Israel, okay, but for the Gentiles or the original heathens as well, okay, when it comes to the so-called white race, okay, the heathen nations, okay, the Arabs, okay, the Japanese, the Chinese, the original Africans, which are Hamites, okay, heathen nations. Somehow they can be saved and be joint heirs in the kingdom, okay, which we know that's false, according to the scriptures, okay, which we know the future of these heathens is captivity up under us, the nation of Israel, okay, starting with Yahweh Shai, establishing the kingdom of Israel, okay, and salvation is only for Israel, okay, when it comes to the time of Yahweh Shai return, of his second coming, by the way of the chariots, or what the world call UFOs, at the peak of the Third World War, okay, that eventually Lord going to destroy this place, America, okay, by the way of thermonuclear missiles, and the chariots bringing fire, which indicate the downfall of Esau, Edom, and these heathens, okay, rulership. And once again, their future is captivity once Yahweh Shai established the kingdom of Israel, okay? And Yahweh Shai is only going to deliver the elect at this time of Israel, which we're considered the 144,000 and the 1/3 that's destined to be saved. That's a so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American descent, okay? Because 2/3, according to Zechariah chapter 13, verse 8, going to be cut off and judged at this time. And they will have to be reborn in the kingdom, okay, through the elect, okay? And these heathen nations that perish on this side, once again, which there's no salvation for them, starting with the Edomites, they're going to come back in the kingdom through their bloodline, okay, by being service, okay? Because when it comes to the elites of Esau, Edom, and the heathens that remain, okay, after the aftermath of Third World War, the Third World War, World War III, they're going to be reserved for captivity, okay? Like I say, but the heathen nation that perish on this side, they're going to come back in the kingdom through their bloodline being service, and they're going to serve us, man. So the kingdom of Israel is just as that, only for Israel, okay? Yeah, but, like I say, recently now, we got Genesis starting with Hakah, okay? Talking about the heathen nations can be saved. And in the meantime, now the latest, he's talking about, being off the grid, okay, building up a Hebrew Israelite community, okay, or a compound, okay, or land, okay, off the grid, okay, from this government, from this society here in America, by the way, okay, cause so yeah, you got a lot of Israelites in that mind frame. IUIC, ISUPK, talking about building here in this place, America, having their own land, their own plot of land, okay, their own resources, okay, which that's gonna fail, man, okay, yeah, because we come to the understanding more and more when it comes to us, the Israelites, that this place is our captivity. Esau, Edom, and these heathens are ruling over us. Okay, we're under the curses according to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 16 through 68. Okay, and one of the curses say that we're going to be the borrower, not the lender, and that we have to go to our enemies for the one of all things. Okay, so now we're in the point of all hell about to break loose. But you got these foreign Israelite camps here talking about building here in America and prospering, building a Hebrew Israelite community. Okay, in the meantime, we about to approach the time of Jacob's trouble. All hell breaking loose. The coming of martial law, detention centers. Okay, the coming of more surveillance. Okay, especially when it comes to that, the RFID microchip, which is known as the mark of the beast, being implemented. That's going to replace the physical dollar. Okay, because now we're at the point of this place, America, is on the verge of a financial crash. The dollar being obsolete. Okay, and these elites ready to bring in the NWO by establishing it by implementing the RFID micro, okay, to replace the physical dollar in a digital format, a digital currency. That's going to be the next way of buying and selling, okay? Okay, so it don't matter how much resource you're trying to prep for or, gather, building land here in America to be off the grid, okay? Eventually those sources are going to run out, okay? Then what you going to do then, okay? See, our whole thing is when it starts with the men of great millstones, start with the apostles, bishops, and elders, and the brother on down, that we're going to have to trust in Yahweh Shema Shah, okay? And that this place, America, is not our rest, okay, but our captivity. And we're looking for Yahweh Shah to return to deliver us, which a lot of these camps, they push the day of the Lord off. Why? Because they comfortable here. Okay, a lot of these camps are getting money, okay, getting financial, monetary gain, okay? If not that, all about fame, okay, self-motivation, like I say, prosperity, pushing on archer, okay, entrepreneurs and all that. Got to build here, okay, and they distract from what's really going on, man. Okay, we on the verge of this place collapsing, man. Okay, in the most crucial times that we in, you got Israelite leaders still misleading their congregation, man. Okay, all for their self gain. Okay, all for their alternative motives. Okay, but eventually it's gonna be a big disappointment. Okay, when it comes to a lot of these Israelite camps that's trying to build here in America and think that they're gonna prosper here. Okay, but let's get this on Hebrews chapter 13, verse 14. For here have we no continuous city, but we seek one to come. Yeah, especially when it comes to this place, America. Okay, and talking about this place gonna prosper, especially with Israelite, looking for this place to prosper another 5, 10, or 20 plus years. Okay, building a Hebrew Israelite compound, a Hebrew Israelite community, being off the grid, having our own resources. Okay, no, that's all going to be in vain. Okay, as eventually, once again, this place America going to be totally destroyed, man, by thermonuclear missiles. Okay, but us, the elect, us are the hopeful elect. Okay, we know that Yahweh Shema Shai going to bring a kingdom for us. Okay, when it comes to a continual, everlasting kingdom. Okay, that we ain't got to worry about being subject unto payments, being oppressed. Okay, because our kingdom is going to be for us, and it's going to be a righteous kingdom, and we're going to rule over our oppressors when it comes to Esau, Edom, and these heathens. Okay, when the kingdom is established in the land of Israel. Okay, no, so this ain't the time talking about some, putting hope into building land. Okay, building a Hebrew Israelite community, and to prosper. Because really, they comfortable here. Okay? That's why more and more, a lot of these camps switching up the doctrine, teaching more prosperity, teaching about trying to gather all Israel. Okay, a lot of these camps, like I said, got ulterior motives. Okay, it all about money to them. Okay, that's why on certain of their podcasts um or they you know platforms. Okay, they got the Patreon, they got the GoFundMe. Okay, they got the we call it IUIC did a couple of months ago fundraising. Okay, talking about building up land. ISPK talking about getting building up land and getting cattle and getting their own resources. Okay, like they can't remember the curses. Okay, here they go out there and talking about the curses, like we ain't up under them. Okay, and to them, only way we can liberate ourselves from the curses is self-motivation. Okay, without Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, but our own self-gain. Okay, no, the only one that can deliver us from these curses, okay, is Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. Okay, which Yahweh Shai, his name in the Hebrew, okay, meaning he is the deliverer, he is the savior. That's what Yahweh Shai has come back to do, to liberate us, the nation of Israel, okay, mainly starting with the elect. Okay, like I said, 2/3 of our people are going to be destroyed and have to come back in the kingdom. And the 2/3 are going to start with those that know the Israelites, that falsely teaching and being misled, man. Okay, it says on Hebrews chapter 13, verse 14, for here have we no continual city, but we seek one to come. Once again, we seek a kingdom, a true, prosperous kingdom. Okay, and that's what Yahweh Shai has come back to bring. Okay, once the Lord established the kingdom here on the earth in the land of Israel, okay, which the land of Israel, okay, when it comes to those phonies over there, that land is going to be cleansed by the way of thermonuclear missiles. Okay, just for us to rightfully own our land again. Okay, the true inheritors. Okay, and like I say, Esau, Edom, and these heathens, starting with the least, going to build it up. Okay, when it comes to our everlasting kingdom. Yeah, but right now, man, we behind enemy lines, man. Okay, we under the curses. Okay, we in the time of approaching Jacob's trouble. Okay, let me get this on. Let me see on. Micah chapter 2, verse 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. Because it is polluted, it shall destroy you, even with a sword destruction. Yes, in this time as well. Okay, especially in the times we in now. Okay, the Lord say, rise and depart. Okay, going to spiritually. Okay, when it comes to your mind frame. Okay, that Yahweh Shemel Shai has waken us up to this truth. Okay, and knowing that, ultimately Yahweh Shai has come back to deliver us. Okay, but this place America is not our rest, man. Okay, and this place is affected. Okay, by the way of what GMO foods. Okay, um, tainted air pollution. Okay, when it comes to the air, polluted water. Okay, you see the morals of the people, society. Okay, but you talking about trying to build here. Okay, when Yahweh Shai return and establish the kingdom of Israel, everything's gonna be upright. Everything's gonna be pushed more being ordered in a natural way. Okay, but here in America, everything's corrupt. Okay, and that's why at this time now, as we're under the curses, we're suffering, and as we're under the oppression, when it comes to Esau Edom ruling over us, man. Okay, so this place is not our rest, man. Okay, so we got to spiritually depart when it comes to coming back, acknowledging Yahweh Shai Shai. Then they're going to come to a time when Yahweh Shai is going to liberate us physically by the way of the chariots. Okay, Matthew the 24th chapter, verses 29 through 31. Okay, and that's going to set way unto us being delivered. Okay, when it comes to salvation and leading to us ruling under through the authority and power of Yahweh Shai. Okay, starting with the elect. Okay, the hopeful number that we're striving to be part of. Okay, but at this time, this place is not our rest, man. Okay, and for you Israelites that being misled by them, okay, that's not going to take the rebuke, the reproof, correction, or not taking heed, okay, that's going to be upon them, okay, when all hell break loose, okay, and they're thinking that trusting in these false leaders amongst Israel, okay, thinking about prosperity and self-gain, okay, it's going to be the way here in America. It's going to be a big disappointment, okay, but they have been warned, okay, according to the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai by the true men that Lord set up. Okay, start with the men of great millstone and the true brethren on down. Okay, now let's see. Let's get this. This is 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. Yeah, so Lord ain't slack concerning the prophecies, man. Especially the prophecy of this place, America, being destroyed. Okay, which is known as Babylon the Great. Okay, and other ancient empires that had rulership in the ancient times, but due to their wickedness, eventually they fell. Okay, but America had taken on all the ancient customs of certain ancient empires, roll in one. Okay, and that's why eventually this place is going to be destroyed. Had the ultimately destruction by the way of thermonuclear missiles, and that's a promise that Yahweh Shema Shai said He's going to do. Okay, and that's why we out there on the highways and byways, and His word being pushed by the way of the internet to teach repentance to you tribes, to you Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, and those that descended out of that bloodline. Okay, but we know only the elect is going to be delivered. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Okay, going into those missiles, and the chariots bringing fire. Okay, especially mainly to this place. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burnt up. Seeing then all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of person ought you to be in to be in all holy conversation and godliness? Yeah, your conduct, your conversation, your conduct. When it comes to the truth and applying the times that we, or the scriptures, when it comes to the times that we, okay, knowing that we're on the verge of all hell about to break loose. Okay, like I say, financial crash, the coming of the implementation of the RFID micro, okay, the coming of martial law, detention centers, okay, concentration camps, famine, pestilence, civil wars, race wars, the Third World War, okay, the Lord bringing plagues to this place of America, okay, but us that's of the hopeful elect, we know the times that we in, okay, to serve Yahweh Shem Shai and pray that we be found in the good graces of the Lord, okay, and being covered as we're in the time of Jacob's trouble, and pray that we are the Lord's elect to be delivered, okay, not putting the day of the Lord off, not trying to prosper here, okay, not looking for this place to continue on another 10 plus years, okay, matter of fact, continue on, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of Yahweh Bashim Shai, when the heavens begin, the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And those missiles, okay, and we know these times are coming, okay, especially we know in the prophecy of the Third World War that's approaching, okay, the RFID micro that's approaching, all hell about to break loose, okay, and once again, Micah 2:10, we know that this place is not our rest, okay, so us are the hopeful elect, we're hasting, man, okay, when it comes to Yahweh Shem Shai, second coming, okay, and setting everything back up in its rightful order under the authority of the nation of Israel, okay, starting with Yahweh Shem Shai, okay, because we know that this place is about to be destroyed. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. Yeah, the new heavens and the new earth going into the rulership, the kingdom of Israel, which by default, the kingdom of Yahweh Shai being established here on the earth. Okay, that's going to be dwelling by the way of righteousness. Start with the nation of Israel. Okay, mainly the nation of Israel. I say start with the elect. Okay, because only Israel. Okay, that's going to be delivered, saved, Okay, ultimately that's going to rule an everlasting kingdom. It's not going to be left, as the scripture says, left to other nations. Matter of fact, let me see. Let me get that real quick. With that Daniel. Now this a good one. Daniel chapter 7, verse 26. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it until the end. In this time now. Okay, we in the time now. Esau Edom about to be taken out of power. Okay. When Yahweh shall return. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Okay, so that's a cut. Talking about the heathens going to have a joint rulership with us, man. Okay, when it comes to a lot of these false Israelite camps, man. Okay, at this time in particular, members of Genesis stomp with their head. Okay, now Yahweh Shah say our kingdom gonna be a ruling kingdom over all dominion. Okay, or we're gonna have all dominion over all the nations, man. Okay, but that's the when that one that say that the kingdom shall be not left to other nations. Here we go. Daniel chapter 2, verse 44. In the days of these kings shall the power Yahweh Bashim Shai of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Okay? We're going to the kingdom of Israel. Okay? The kingdom of Yahweh Shai, which is the kingdom of Israel. Okay? It's not going to be left to any other nation. Okay? So these heathen nations ain't going to be partakers in our kingdom when it comes to rulership or authority. Okay? Okay, they're going to be servants. Okay? So that's it on that. And like I said, a lot of these Israelite camps here in America, they comfortable. As we got that saying, they westernized Israelites. Okay? Let's get this. Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 12. And it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with candles and punish the man that are settled on their leads. You're going to these false Israelite leaders, okay, amongst Israel, okay, that settle on their leads, meaning that they comfortable here, okay, to the point that they teaching false doctrines and all about prosperity to them, to the point, okay, in their deluded mind, thinking that they can build here in America, thinking that this place gonna continue on to go for another 5, 10 plus years, man. Okay, not knowing that, which a lot of these Israelites they done sold out, tired looking more and more. Okay, but more anything, we in the time that this place is on the verge of its downfall. Okay, and it says, um, and it says, and it shall come to pass that I will search Jerusalem with candles and punish the men that are set on their leaves, that say in their heart, the Lord will not do good, neither will he do evil. Okay? Yeah, so that's what they thinking. The Lord ain't gonna do nothing. If we gotta build our own community here, we can't wait on the Lord. Okay? Yeah, he had Captain Zazarak a couple of months ago, okay, from ISUPK, saying that he ain't waiting on the Lord. He gotta build here. Okay? So a lot of these false leaders amongst Israel, that's their mind frame, to prosper here. Okay, and a lot of them they just use Israel, okay, just for another gimmick, a trend, or another way of make money. Okay, a hustle. It's a hustle to them. Okay, a lot of them, they leaders. I mean, they followers. Okay, just being misled. You might have some of them, a lot of them sincere, but they just sincerely being misled. Okay, and when it comes to the Lord, If there's the elect amongst them, the Lord gonna graft them from out of that madness and bring them to the true way or the true understanding through the spirit and power you have by Shema Shai. Okay, when it comes to the elect, okay, the hopeful elect, okay, and that's the number that we striving to be part of. Okay, especially more and more when prophecies come to pass, when all hell breaking loose more and more. Okay, but majority of the congregation that being misled, they're gonna be judged, man. When it comes to the 2/3, man. Like I say, start with these false prophets amongst Israel. Okay, the Lord gonna start with them first, cause they settle on their leads, they comfortable. Okay, and they being misled. Okay, let me see. Let me get this, and I'll probably get ready to close. Let me get on, cause everything is the will of the Lord, man. Okay, yeah, daily. Okay, Yahweh Shema Shah bringing judgment. Okay, matter of fact, let's get that. Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 5. The just Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is in the midst thereof. He would not do iniquity. Every morning do he bringeth his judgment to light. He faileth not, but the unjust know no shame. So every day Yahweh Bashim Yahushai bringing judgment. Okay? When it comes to the Lord wrath. Okay? And it's going to get intensified more and more as we're in the time of approaching Jacob's trouble and all hell about to break loose. Esau Edom ready to come in with that wrath, come down with that wrath, according to Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Okay? And so we seeing what's happening. And the only way that we can be covered and be exempt is of Yahweh Shema Shai will, okay, when it comes to the covering of the Lord, okay, and preparing ourselves, okay, as it says, Isaiah chapter 33, verse 6, for wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of our times, man. Okay, trusting in Yahweh Shema Shai. Okay, the Lord, make sure he's going to be the guide of the elect, okay, being the deliverance of the elect, okay, not trusting in ourselves, not trusting in this, the wealth or the material things of the world, okay, trusting in archery or, because you got camps out there trying to be militant, okay, people prepping, okay, it's good to have certain things, okay, but our wholehearted trust is in Yahweh Shema Shai, okay, to give us that spiritual interventions, okay, that spiritual divine power, man, okay, when it comes to the form of miracles, okay, and the covering of Yahweh Shema Shai. Okay, but everything is the Lord will. That's why we say if the Lord's will, we'll do this and do that. Okay, let's get this. Okay, we know what the Lord's will is when it comes to this place, America. Okay, that we preparing ourselves for this place, destruction. Okay, not looking for this place to prosper, man, and trying to build here. Okay, James chapter 4, verse 13. Go to now, ye that say today or tomorrow we will go into such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain. And that's what a lot of these false Israelite camps mind frame is, to prosper here, okay, for 5, 10 plus years, man, for gain, okay. Whereas you know not what shall be on tomorrow, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appear for a little time and then vanish away. Okay, so just like that, Lord can bring judgment. That's why every day when it comes to our prayers, praying to Yahweh Shema Shai to have mercy upon us, to have his covering upon us, day in and day out, okay, and that we continue on in the faith and in the walk to serve the Lord, okay. And it says, for that you ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live, do this or that, okay. But now you rejoice in your boasting, all such rejoice in evil. Therefore, to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. Yeah, a lot of these false prophets amongst Israel. Okay, they're supposed to be teaching and preaching the downfall of this place, man. Okay, with that Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 8. Okay, the prophets that had been before me and before thee prophesied against great kingdoms of war, pestilence, and evils. Okay, that's what's coming, man. Not the talking about prospering here. Okay, you supposed to be giving that warning. Okay, and so they know. Okay, The times that when, but they pushed the day of the Lord off, man. And at the same time gaining, self monetary gain, and they boasted in it through their pride. Okay, to the point that they switching up the doctrine, teaching damnable heresies, okay, which they doing evil, okay, to fulfill their lust of their flesh, okay. But eventually, Lord gonna visit them, man, okay, and those that follow them, okay. And so the Lord is only for the elect, and that's the number that we striving to be part of. And us of the hopeful elect, we know that we near to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, bring destruction to this place, man. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the lesson here, and I'll pray that the lesson will edify. Until next time, Lord willing. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom.